Hey beautiful people, in this video we're going to talk about which of the following practices most exemplifies good strategy execution. There are thousands of practices that promise to boost strategy execution. There are new frameworks, there are OKRs, there are agile sprints, dashboards and more. But one practice stands above all the rest of them in terms of building an essential foundation for reliable, successful strategy execution. And that's the one we're going to talk about. In this episode, I want to reveal to you what high-performing teams really have in common and how you can begin to build that for your team. What if you could simplify strategy execution into one core capability? The most overlooked execution practice isn't necessarily the tools, it's actually human coordination and trust. I want to show you what top performing teams actually do differently and introduce you to the one execution practice that changes everything. Great execution lives in coordination, not in control. We often try and manage execution through tighter OKRs, better defined OKRs, more status meetings, tighter oversight, bigger dashboards, more definition of tasks. And when we do that, what we're doing is we are just ratcheting down the control on the project. And by doing that, we're actually making the people in the project feel less intelligent. We're also destroying trust with the people who are following us as we go through that process. It looks like we don't trust them. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and after being asked for the millionth project status update, he was basically said, "This is sucking my soul. I feel like I am not trusted to do my work." When we start seeing our projects unravel and we realize that we may not going to be arrive on time or on budget, or the scope keeps growing and we don't know how to manage that. I've done other videos on that, which I absolutely encourage you to watch. But as we start seeing that happen, our natural predisposition is to try and create more transparency by asking for more reports, having more meetings, defining our tasks better, and micromanaging our processes. These rarely produce the velocity that we're looking for because they're doing something that is the basis of all of our human work together, and particularly all of our project work together, which is our ability to be able to trust each other to do the work that we have committed to doing. Execution really happens through a network of promises. It doesn't happen through assigning tasks alone. In fact, I would actually say it doesn't happen through assigning tasks, but that's a transition that we all need to make. So I want to introduce you to a concept called executional intelligence. And that intelligence is an intelligence that you can build around how promises happen inside projects, what accountability really means inside a project, how to replace tasks with actual commitments made by human beings, not micromanaged, and how to be able to build trust across a team rapidly, effectively, and systematically. One practice that is the sort of basis for this work, that is the kind of atomic structure of execution. And when you think of it, the reason why I'm using the term atomic structure of execution is because the same way as I and you are both built out of billions of atoms, so our projects are also built out of billions of coordination conversations. If you think about it as an atomic structure, the structure holds no matter the size of the project, no matter the size of the initiative or the strategic implementation that you are working on. In the same way as you and I have very similar atoms, even though we might show up as very different, but we are still built of the same fundamental structure. So that fundamental structure is what I refer to as a coordination loop. And it is a four-loop process that you can see here. It's a four-loop process that is a conversation between a customer and a performer. And what it is we develop a clear offer or a clear request, not something that is assumed. Now, that sounds incredibly simple, and in reality it is, but all of our work today is set up for people to do handoffs to each other. And we look at what are the dependencies, who are the people who I'm handing stuff off to. And we still have this mindset, this mentality, this visualization of how we do work as being component parts on a factory floor. Now, that was incredibly valuable when we were building Model T Fords, but we're not building Model T Fords anymore. We're actually building incredibly complex technologies that allow us to be able to drive autonomously, that allow us to be able to drive while having conversations with other people or doing other things because our car is driving for us. That level of complexity is a far cry from what we were doing, what our great grandparents or great grandparents were doing when they first came out of working in fields and started working in factories. If we think of work as being simply a breakdown of tasks, we are missing the essence of what we as human beings bring to the table. And in the age of AI, understanding what that is even more important than it ever has been. We bring the ability to be able to develop concepts, to be able to hold context of what it is that we're looking to accomplish, to be able to imbue purpose into the requests that we make. That develop phase of a conversation or of a design or of an initiative is incredibly important. If we could bring that develop phase into every single conversation that we're having within a project, we are going to be able to hold context, we're going to bring more intelligence, and we're going to raise the level of capability and intelligence of our teams. The second phase is the design phase, where we bring different areas of capability and mastery to the table. It made perfect sense to cascade tasks down when we had people who had no education or who had primary level education. Nowadays, we have people who have multiple levels of education who are masterful in very particular specific areas that we ourselves are not masterful in, that we need to be able to bring to the table in order to be able to deliver on a project. As human beings, the diversity of our competence, mastery, excellence, expertise, whatever it is you want to call it, has multiplied exponentially in the past 50 to 100 years. 100 years ago, we had people who knew how to do one thing. I tighten a widget on the wheel of this particular car. I do that for 8, 12, 14 hours a day, and that is all that I do, and I wait for the next person to do their piece of work. Our work doesn't look anything like that. We need to think differently about how it is we design work and how we think about our ability to execute on work together in a highly collaborative, co-inventive way. I refer to that as executional intelligence, or the execution layer within organizations. The third phase is the delivery phase. Now, we're all familiar with that. That's where we all jump to. That's what makes us feel valuable. That's what puts us in our comfort zone. Someone asks me to do something, I'm in delivery. And if you watch your teams, you'll see that they're jumping into delivery immediately because they have this urgency around proving themselves. They have this urgency around delivering value and being seen to be busy, and many times our busyness is actually an erosion of our capability because we are running around without context, without understanding, without a clear customer, without someone to co-invent or co-design with. And many times we end up doing work that is truly wasteful. The final one is in the loop, is the declare. So if you think about the loop again, and you think about the final phase, which is declaring satisfaction, that is up to the customer who's initiated the request in the first place. Now, when I first start talking about this to people, they go, but we're having thousands and thousands of those every single day. We can't possibly have those kind of conversations explicitly all the time. I'm not naive enough to recommend that you should do that. But I am smart enough to recommend that if you have people who understand that and who practice that and who see networks of these conversations happen across organizations, they're going to have different kinds of conversations than they've been having before. They're going to have a closeout on a loop conversation that has to do with standards, with satisfaction, with metrics, with learning, with how we engaged with each other, with the tempo of our work, with the ability of us to be able to bring new levels of understanding and genius to our work, and to understand how it is that we actually leverage and engage with that. The practice that exemplifies good execution is really paying attention to the coordination loop and recognizing that there are hundreds of thousands of loops in our day every single day, and that they are nested within each other and that they are networked across each other. Our ability to be able to see those and operate within those brings us to a higher order of understanding of what is work and also a higher level of value delivery. What this practice does pretty much immediately when teams start rigorously applying it is we our delays drop dramatically. We're able to sync and orchestrate and coordinate with each other much more effectively than we have been doing if everything is designed for us through a project plan down to the last minutia of tasks. Rework is minimized because now we're doing a level of coordination with our internal customers that allow us to be able to really understand why we're doing what we're doing and to be able to have purpose and meaning and authority and autonomy and accountability in what it is that we're doing. Trust increases over time. We're closing out loops of customers and we're having conversations around how do we do this better next time? How can we make this more effective? Not as an after action review or a retroactive on an entire project, but in the moment, in the conversation, it could be a 2-second conversation. How did this work for you? Was it effective? Hey, it would have been great if you'd given stuff to me on Wednesday instead of on Monday, because by Wednesday I have a little bit of breathing room to be able to review things more effectively. I can recalibrate to accommodate that. We're doing micro adjustments rather than trying to do the grandiose big ones that we think are going to solve all of the problems, because they're not and they haven't, and we know they haven't. We also begin to build sustainable momentum. So in these type of environments, human beings are front and center of the work. Our ability to be able to innovate, to be able to empathize, to be able to sympathize, to be able to listen, which is something that our AI colleagues are not going to be able to do for some significant amount of time, maybe ever. I was talking to a neuroscientist the other day and he said never, but we'll see how that evolves. But one of the things that's missing for us is we need to be able to put ourselves front and center if we are truly going to be able to innovate and deliver real value. So if you're interested in this, if you found this valuable, if some of the breakdowns you're dealing with that I mentioned resonate deeply with you, then I invite you to build a better understanding of executional intelligence for yourself and understanding the invisible execution layer that operates inside all of our organizations. I'm doing a series of 20 videos on this. I started with one which is called What is Executional Intelligence? You can find a link for it here and a link down below in the comments. Have a look at it, let me know what you think, get in there, talk to me, comment, let me respond to you. And as you start building this for your own team and for your own purposes and building your own executional intelligence, I wish you the very best of luck and hopefully I can help you on the journey. Take care and good luck.